people enjoying the golf course. That's nice. Nice hot day. Excuse me. Which is the topic I wanted to talk about. I actually just got through working on this nice hot weather. But a couple of people today, including my brother and one of the guys I work with, were telling me about this Postal Supervisor who died after being in the back of a mail truck doing a route count, I assume, in the 95-degree heat up in North Carolina. I guess this might have been a couple weeks ago. But I looked up an article online. Her son said she would sometimes help deliver mail. We all know that's not true. Supervisor would never deliver mail. But it brought back some dear memories for me because I spent a long time doing route counts back when I worked as a supervisor, you know, an acting supervisor, 204B, as we call it in the post office. That was kind of my specialty, doing route counts, you know. I kept up on most of the yearly route counts, you know, they're called 3999, that we had to do here in our local office, both of our different offices for the different zip codes. And I was the one who pretty much kept up on all that stuff. You had to do at least one a year on everybody and keep those updated. And of course, there were various other times. In fact, one of the other times was a story that I was reminded of by this event. This one supervisor we used to have, he really, I don't know what his deal was with this one carrier at our office. Actually, the carrier was the carrier who had the route that I have now. And that's a route I wanted for a long time. After that guy finally retired, somebody else ended up bidding on it and got it. And I finally had the chance to get on it a couple years ago. But the guy that was here before, back before he retired, I don't know what the deal was, if that supervisor was after him to do some undertime for him that one day or what, but he was always after him. And it was the middle of July, 95 degrees, super, super humid. We were getting ready to have thunderstorms that afternoon. And supervisor put a jump seat in the back of that guy's truck and made me go out with him and do a route count on him that day, you know? And man, the guy was seriously pissed that I was out there riding with him, as one would be, to just have the supervisor stick somebody in the back of your truck because they didn't like you. And he took it out on me. You're sitting in those jump seats, they screw them in, you know, bolt them into the floor in the back of the truck. And believe me, it's hot enough up front in those LLVs. I've had days out riding around the summer, you know, out in Oklahoma, Wichita, Kansas, 105, 110 degrees. It's at least 120, 130 inside that vehicle. And you can have the windows open, and it's like a wind tunnel blowing behind your seat, blowing stuff around. But you sitting there in that driver's seat, you can't feel a bit of it, you know? They're just the most poorly designed vehicles ever, you know, when it comes to, you know, human comfort. But a lot of times you're sitting back there, they have a little fan up on the dash, and the carrier will ask you, hey, do you want me to point this back there to you, you know, and try and make you a little bit more comfortable, or make sure like the window's down or something. Man, this guy, none of that from him. He wanted to make sure I suffered, you know, and I was not ready to go out and ride around with somebody that day. I didn't have, you know, water and stuff I needed. I think I grabbed a bottle of water out of the machine in the break room or something and hopped in the truck and we were gone. And like I say, it was super hot and humid, and I was just sweating, drenched in sweat back there in that uncomfortable seat. They sit real low to the floor, you know, so your knees are up in your face. And he pulled up under a shade tree when it was time to take his lunch, and he said, well, this is where I take my lunch break. And I got out and walked 10 minutes each way to the 7-Eleven and stocked up on some stuff to drink, got a snack to eat. There's no way in hell I was going to say anything or ask him to make me more comfortable. you know, and play his game and, you know, let him win, you know. So I just suffered in silence, like it was just another day and I didn't give a damn, you know. But man, that was a horrible day. And I have done hundreds of route counts. I used to go out, travel around on the route inspection teams for district, like back when we were in the Suncoast district with our, you know, district office down in Tampa and all over Central Florida. Of course, they usually try to do those where you're not out there riding around the back of a truck in the summer, you know, not just because of the temperatures, but because, you know, the mail volume's not really representative. It's pretty light, just like they don't do them around the holidays in December when the mail volume's super heavy, you know. But I've done hundreds of those things, living out of hotels for 4 or 5 months at a time, and riding in the back of a truck 5-6 days a week. And at the time, you know, my wife, I was engaged, and even after I got married, you know, my wife was still over in the Philippines, and I didn't care. You know, I had nothing going on at home. I would work 6 days a week. They would ask if people if people wanted to go back home on Saturday because they didn't really have enough routes that we needed to do still to justify having everybody there. And I was always the person that said, hey, I'll stay here and do a route, you know, on Saturday, and then move off on Sunday to a hotel in the next place, wherever. And I think at one point I was like the highest paid carrier in the district, you know, because I was technically still a letter carrier. I was just assigned to a higher duty, you know, a higher level duty for district. And you know, some of those stations we were working at, you had, you know, you were going in early, starting before the carriers, so you could count their mail and everything and get ready. And then you're out with the carrier all day. Some of those places, they were out pretty late. And then you have to stay and download all your info and get it all uploaded to the mainframe and all of that. So I was getting a lot of, you know, what they call penalty overtime if you go over 10 hours. And yeah, it was fun times, and I did that for a long time. A lot of times, even if they weren't sure they were going to put together a full team for that year or do full route counts, you know, they would send out emails, you know, requesting a few people to go out and do stuff, and, you know, they would ask for me by name, go out with a few other people and get started on the process before they decided what they were going to do. And my MPU, you know, kind of like a it's not really a district manager, but, you know, over a certain group of over a certain, you know, area, group of post offices. You know, sometimes he would call up and ask the postmaster if he could spare me for a couple of days. I'd go off to another office and help train a new supervisor or somebody how to do it. That DCD that they use, the data collection device, you know, I still have people sometimes, even after I stopped doing all that stuff for years, still have supervisors and people calling me up and asking me how to do something on the DCD. But man, we're in a different district now. I think our headquarters is up in Georgia or Jacksonville or somewhere, but we yeah, they were talking a few years back about how they might be putting together a team to go out and do route counts, and my postmaster asked me if I'd be interested. And I think that might have been back when COVID kind of ended up short-circuiting some of that stuff anyways. And at first I thought it would be kind of cool, go out for the new district, you know, and see some different places. And you get your $50 a day per diem, basically, you know, tax-free when you're staying out of town in a hotel or something. So it wouldn't have been bad. But, you know, with my wife here now, and I mean, you've got like 3 cats, I'm just not as thrilled as I used to be about doing that stuff. And honestly, man, sitting around in one of those jump seats for hours, you know, all day long, day after day after day, it is a killer back there, you know, especially if you're out there in the summer. Even back when I used to do route counts here in our office, most of the time I would try and take my car if I could. I had this little red Ford Fiesta, like you know, red and black leather interior and a stick shift. And I'd be, you know, I saw something the other day on Facebook, and they were talking about how if we bring back the stick shift, that would get rid of all this texting and driving. And I was thinking, You know, I used to ride around on my stick shift, you know, keeping up on the route count, following the deliveries on my DCD, and keeping a backup on paper, just in case the DCD died and I had to enter everything manually, so the day's work wasn't wasted, you know. And I was juggling all kinds of stuff in there in a stick shift, but everybody used to dread it. They see my little red car coming and say, oh no, here comes Frank again. And I've done, like I say, a lot of those, and man, being back there in that vehicle, in the back of there, and especially if you get a vehicle where there's lots of bad fumes, you know, you got like an exhaust leak or something, that's just not good for you. And the seating position is so uncomfortable because it sits so low to the floor, especially after I had like a double hernia surgery a few years back. You know, I have no desire to go back out and do that stuff anyways. But especially, you send one of these supervisors out there in the summer in a 95-degree heat that's not acclimated to that stuff. I mean, even if you're a carrier and you're out there every day, you know, it's easy to talk about getting acclimated to something, but it's a killer, you know. I was out yesterday doing some overtime on another route, like an hour and a half of overtime, 95 degrees, you know, feels like temperatures up like 105, 110. And man, I was thinking, damn, I need to get off the overtime list, you know. Of course, I'm like 60 years old. I think this lady that died, she was 51, you know. But yeah, it's not good being out there in the heat. Brought back all my postal, you know, route count and inspection team days. There were a lot of good memories doing stuff, and you know, hanging out with supervisors from all over the district, and you know, working with the district manager of post office operations and all those people, and getting to know them. This is back when I was actually, at the time, still serious about maybe taking an actual real supervisor job too, you know, instead of just an acting supervisor. But every time I got really serious about doing the authentic supervisor thing, you know, I just, something would happen where I'd realize that I had been stabbed in the back or lied to or something. And, you know, people are always wanting to do something shady to keep them off of the telecon with district every day. And obviously, if something goes wrong, you're the one that's going to get thrown under the bus, not them. So, I don't know, all the people around here that we've got, a lot of them that are managers and postmasters and supervisors. You know, I was actually supervising them back when they first started, but I just really kind of had enough of that whole thing. After I got my wife here from the Philippines, I just wanted to chill out and just relax, you know, do my route, and then go home. It's, you know, my blood pressure was through the roof back then. I was, you know, doing so much stuff, just racing all the time. I was always a runner anyways, you know. I hate being late. And the way the post office works, if you're a good worker, you're going to end up getting screwed. That's just the way it is. Because somebody has to get the mail delivered, you know. That was one of the worst things I hated when I was supervising, is you get some loser who doesn't do their job and out screwing around. And then you get the people who are good workers that come back and they've been running their butt off all day long and they're ready to go home. And it's dark, it's winter, and you have to tell them, go back out and help this loser. You know, that's the worst thing in the world, to have to tell somebody that. You know, you get there, there's certain people that just nobody wants to ever have to go help again, you know. But, you know, now that I'm just carrying mail, I don't have to worry about all that stuff. It's so relaxing. I don't care if somebody is not a good performer or whatever. It's not my problem anymore, you know. I might have to go help them, do some overtime, but it's not my job to try and get them to do their job anymore. And, you know, it's just all the hassles. There's good things and bad things about doing the supervisor stuff, but especially with my wife here, you know, like I say, my blood pressure was so high. I got to the point where I was just, you know, I'm going to take my medicine and focus on relaxing and chilling out and just trying to do my thing. I've got my life to worry about, and I don't have to care about what anybody else is doing. It's not my job to answer for anybody else's problems anymore, or why didn't this person do that? You know, a lot of people in management is not necessarily the easiest thing to do. I think I'm going to turn my AC back on here. Yeah, management is not, you know, a lot of people think that management is super easy, and those jobs are not really that easy necessarily. On the other hand, you're not out walking around necessarily in the heat and stuff like that, you know, in the rain and the sleet or snow, depending where you're at. But yeah, it's kind of like a real rat race, the way the post office manages people, you know, and you know, get these supervisors and postmasters on these telecons and treat them like shit in front of all their compatriots, you know. And that's the post office's way of motivating, you know, human beings. And on the other hand, you know, I've seen a lot of people that went into management just because they couldn't handle doing a craft job. You know, they couldn't handle being a carrier. And they're like, shit, I'm not carrying mail doing this shit for 20, 30 years, you know, I'll be dead. And so then they decided I'll just be a supervisor and I'll write up other people and try to make them go faster and do what I couldn't do. That's one of the amazing things. I've heard so many people and, you know, supervisors through the years, they say any trained monkey can carry mail, you know. And I always thought, well, that's really, what does that say about you, because you couldn't do it, you know. But you got a lot of good supervisors and stuff too. Somebody has to do that job, and it's not as easy as a lot of people like to think it is. Everybody, you know, you always got this union versus management fighting. And I have to say, I'm still pretty much a company guy, you know. I'm not working as a supervisor or anything, but still, a lot of people just don't appreciate how good they have it at the post office, you know. It's a good job. You got these people, a lot of them with no college degrees or anything. You know, if they've been there long enough, they're making like 75 grand base salary, you know, before any overtime. 26 days paid vacation every year. You can save up as much sick leave as you want. You're earning 13 days of sick leave every year. I mean, even with some of the stuff I've used the last few years, you know, I've got, you know, over half a year of sick leave saved up. I could have open heart surgery or something and get a paycheck every 2 weeks, you know. And people don't appreciate what a good job it is. And, you know, it's like not easy supervising people sometimes and trying to get them motivated to do what they're supposed to do. And when you got to go out and ride around those trucks, that's not fun. They've been trying to get away from that stuff, you know, since we got a GPS we drag around with us everywhere anyways. So I don't know what the deal was. Maybe it was one of those deals like the memory it brought back for me, you know, where the supervisor just got pissed at the person and said, that's it, I'm riding with you today. And that was it. Unfortunately, somebody died, you know. These postal trucks with no AC or anything in this kind of weather, it does suck. On the other hand, I'm not gonna lie, I've done a lot worse things for a lot less money. So anyways, those are my memories of doing route counts for the post office.